Okay, so we're moving into the tips to effectively dealing with objections, and so we'll work on those. So the first thing is the objection is, first make sure it's an objection, not just a statement or a question. Like for instance, if the buyer says, well, what's this $997 access fee for? That's not an objection, it's just a question. But all right, so repeat the objection. Be sure and understand that what the objection is. It's best to repeat to the prospect and make sure you are on the same page with their objection. So you just want to identify and make sure that you understand what the objection is. You want to isolate the objections. So aside from whatever, so let's just role play this and say, well, besides the $997 access fee, are you comfortable with everything else? Or is there anything else that you have concern about? Because you don't want to just take on objection, then take on the objection, and take on, you want to bring them all together, you know, get it all on the table here, and we're going to hit them one after another. All right, so cushion the objection, never be condescending or argumentative. Cushion it 3 times, say, I understand, others have expressed similar concerns, or just different ways. If I was in your shoes, I would feel the same way, or for example, you can say those things, but let's say we're talking about the $997 fee. You can say, get it, I totally understand where you're coming from. You know, to explain the access fee again, what all the benefits are, the values of it. Explain the fact again, like, you know, reassure that, listen, you don't pay anything unless you buy a house. So it's mute. You're going to get all this access really for nothing until you buy a house. You're not under any obligation to buy. But when you do buy, this is what we're going to collect the $997 fee at the end of that, at the closing. So handle the objection. Refer to the section on common objections. Become an expert at these. So in the folder, the OSA onboarding, excuse me, you will find that we have a list of several pages of common objections that you can run across, and you want to get some of those where you're, you know, the most common ones. You want to get to where you can handle those on a regular basis with ease. It's kind of like having it already scripted in your head. And then when you hear us during sales training, you'll hear different times when we're talking about, you know, this happened, or what would you do about this, or how do you, you know, this objection they had. Learn from that. Listen, take notes if you have to, but listen to how we respond to them, how we would respond to them. And the more you hear it, and the more you hear, is more repetition of hearing that, the better you're going to get at handling objections. Okay? Close. So you want to close. You always have to close. You don't want to just handle the objection and then not close. So you handle the objection and just say, hey, you know, here's the buyer access fee. It's $997. You go through all the reasons or all the value to it. And you just say, are you okay with this? Does it make sense to you? You're closing. And when you're asking this, are you okay with this? You're shaking your head. You okay with this? Yes, I'm good. All right. So those are some tips to dealing with objections. Now, creating a sense of urgency in a buyer's market. So we're really not in a buyer's market. We're in a seller's market, but still there's going to be urgency because people kind of sit on their hands and they miss out on the house. So you still got to create urgency. One is, you know, there's one way of doing it. There's a massive transfer of wealth going on. You know, buy low. Successful people make money when they buy, not when they sell. Now, and that's in a buyer's market. We're in a seller's market. So you can always use this one though. The good deals go fast. Find a good deal, never pass. The good deals always go fast. So we're in this marketplace. Literally almost every house is a good deal. They're always selling fast. If it's something that's going to sell fast, it's obviously a good deal, right? Or it wouldn't sell so quickly. So if you're in that price range where things move quickly, every house you bring to them this is a good deal. It's going to go fast. Okay, you're creating urgency. Time's precious. It's limited. What put off, you know, what will make your life better today until tomorrow. So another one, one I like here is the precious, you know, time is precious, it's limited. Why put off what will make your life better today until tomorrow? The reason why they're buying a house is usually when you're buying a home, it's to make your life better. Maybe it's easier because you're moving into an area where the kids are going to go to a better school or a better school system or close to the hospitals or close to the churches they like, or there's some reason they're looking to buy. And so you need to remember the reason why they're buying. Maybe they're downsizing from a bigger house. The couple's getting older, the kids have gone, they got a 5,000 square foot house. It's a lot of work. There's a reason that you need to play on that and just say, hey, the longer you stay here, the more you're going to have to clean this house, the more you're going to have to mow this yard, the more you're going to have to do this, the more you're having to do this, and the upkeep. You create urgency of like, we need to go get you a house. Okay, makes sense? This one you could use when the market is it's a buyer's market. Hey, which house would you rather be in when the market bounces back? The one you're in now or the new one? And which one will provide the most benefits to making your life better? So those are some things you can use there. Manage buyers house hunting using Client Gateway in the first multiple listing service. So anyway, you need to, like I said, if you meet a buyer and they sign with you, you just need to shut them out from getting any automated emails from MLS or our platform, KV Core. Just shut it off and have all that coming to you. So you're putting eyes on it, because that's the agreement you signed with them. You're putting eyes on it, send it to them. Because it is a computer and it's not going to be exactly how it's just not finite enough to really pin down exactly what they want, but it gets pretty close, and you can send it and you can put eyes on it yourself and go, yeah, this will work. Send it to them. Makes you look better. It's going to make them feel better that they think you're because you're working for them, and that makes them. That shows to them that you are working for them. You're out there. You're hunting it. You're looking. Excuse me. Always check the Slack channel. Everybody understand about the buyer? Let's see. Let me just show you that real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Right here. Core exclusive buyer need. That's where you're going to find homes that we're listing, or you can ask about, hey, I'm certain, like Kevin, he's searching for a home under $300,000 that has acreage, plenty enough for my clients to create their own shooting range. Virtually any area is okay, that kind of thing. And then agents will have what they have coming or what they're doing. Here's one Greg just listed on Thorn Grove Pike, $475, awesome custom built house with a whole book of stuff on it. But then there's the picture of it. Okay, so make sure you're checking this, because this will instantly tell you what we got coming on the market. And then it goes into our website, and you'll always have access to it from there. All right. Okay. Some other common suggestions. These are things that that's in the system that you can look and really get yourself familiar with the objections. Let's say you got an out-of-town client. What, can you just email me the listings? Well, there's some of them that you can, right? But there's going to be off-market properties. You just can't email them. You might email them a snapshot of the outside of the, but they need to know that when you call them, you've got it. You're calling them because you've got something they need to come in town and look at, or make an offer before they get in town, which is even better, right? You can do that by making an offer contingent upon them reviewing the home within a certain period of time frame. You can also do it to where the inspection is done maybe the day that they're going to be doing the inspection, the buyer's in town at that point. I did most of mine that way, so that way they're there and they're meeting with the inspector and they can look at the house, and if they go, you know what, don't go any further, then the inspector would most likely cut the bill down or something, or they get to see the house and they're thrilled, whatever. If you do that, make sure that when they come to town that you have other properties lined up just in case. they say no to that one they're looking at, that they wrote a contract on, because they're in town.
So do we do it contingent upon viewing? Because
You can do it upon viewing, but normally what I do is I just do it upon inspection report, and I just make sure that they're in. Okay, and then so those are things how you can work around those kind of things. My schedule's too busy, so let's say it again. Most of this kind of stuff is stuff we hear from out of town buyers. You know, we got to get back in town. My schedule's too busy right now. Whatever. You can start pushing for, for them to make offers, sight unseen, that kind of thing. You can say, you can even go and do like a recording or Facebook Live. Set up at a point in time and say, hey, I'm going to do a Facebook Live, or I'm going to do not Facebook Live, but a FaceTime, and go show them the property. That way they can be asking about, well, what's this, what's that, and you can just you're showing up to them, and and then hopefully write an offer. So that's one way. Now just be careful of that. You'll have some people who'll just run you ragged and going, hey, go check this cabin out for me and do FaceTime and let me look at it. No, that's not the one. Just make sure it's the ones you pick out and send to them and say, this is the cabin, this is the house, this is the one you need to buy. Do it up on, make it your choices of when you're going to do the FaceTime. Don't leave it up to them, because they'll have you running all over town. Okay. Another one is saving money, or they don't want to pay the retainer, which we just talked about. They call it retainer fee here, but it's our access, VIP access system here. We get very little pushback on our VIP access because we get really good at explaining it and showing the value of it. Don't we, Faith? I don't know if you've ever had to have one waive or not been able to collect it, at least in closing costs or something.
Unless it's like a VA buyer or...
Yeah, the VA loans, that's why it's important that we try to really work, especially if they're VA, get them with our lender. Any other lender, it just blows up.
Yeah.
It blows up. It's terrible.
I have a VA right now about it, so that's good.
Good. Yep. Well, we thought we've had it before too, and then we get to closing and the underwriter.
The lender.
Yeah, it's the underwriter.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's true.
I never had anybody ask me this, but I guess it could happen. Am I paying your fee? I've never had that asked to me. Am I paying your fee? But some people may, if they don't understand how it works. You just have to tell them, and the best ways to do this, don't read that, listen to me. This is the best explanation. If somebody says, am I paying your fee? You're going to say, in all real estate transactions, the seller already has the real estate commissions baked into the price. The seller already has real estate commissions baked into the price. So no, you're not paying me. Because some people that are somewhat savvy, or they've bought, they're saying, yeah, but I am paying you because it's coming out of the seller's. And you're going, no, you're not paying it. It's coming out of the seller's proceeds. Whatever the seller agrees to sell you the house for is one thing, but there is already a set amount of money baked into the deal that pays the commissions on the real estate fees.
So are you saying if they ask
Yeah, if they ask about, am I paying your fee, or if they ask anything about you getting paid more, or how are you getting paid, or whatever. Let's say they see the closing statement and they see that you got paid more than the other agent, and they don't understand that. You just have to say, because some investors will think, well, yeah, if you're asking, let's say you're asking the seller to pay more in closing costs to cover more of your commission, really I'm paying for it, Faith.
That's what I hear.
And then what you say then is go, no, you're not paying for it, because whatever I negotiate the price for you to get the house for is what you're going to get the house for. Mm-hmm. The seller already has baked into it real estate commissions and closing costs. He's already going to pay those fees. So it comes out of the seller's proceeds. It's not money he was going to give you off the house anyway. So the purchase price that you get of the house is what you get. The proceeds that the seller has after he agrees to the purchase price of the house, those proceeds, that's where the money's coming from. It's coming out of the seller.
Okay, I do, because I hear that one set up.
Yeah, so here's the way to even help with that even more is like, okay, I'm going to negotiate the purchase price for you. And let's say that no matter what the seller's paying, let's say he's not paying, he's not paying any, any closing costs, it doesn't matter. It's just when I negotiate, I'm negotiating the purchase price. It's this. Along with it, I'm negotiating the closing costs along with my fee. They're two separate things. The buyer's going to think like, no, I'm paying the closing costs. No, you're not. The seller's paying the closing costs out of his proceeds, not off the purchase price of the house. I mean, let's say the seller doesn't owe any money on the property, right? His net is his net. Or let's say he owes money on the property, and he has to pay that off too. But his net proceeds is his net proceeds. And he's paying out of his net proceeds, he's going to pay all real estate commissions, all closing costs.
Yeah.
And if he agrees to it, that's great. That doesn't mean that if he hadn't had that in there, that we would have got a different sales price.
What helps me too is even when sitting down with a buyer or a seller, doesn't matter, I'll continuously say like, real estate's always changing, and the seller's well aware that an agent's going to negotiate their fee. It's nothing new for the most part, because we've been doing this for a long time, and most
Right.
people, I've never heard that. Well, real estate's always changing.
Yeah.
And in Knoxville, there's so many different, percentages out there for agents. So we just,
Yeah.
most brokers are now setting a flat fee, and we negotiate that.
Yes, that's right.
So, because everyone thinks they know how real estate is because they did it 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That's good. So let's say we don't want to sign a buyer contract. So we've already talked about that. They don't want to sign an agreement to work with you only. Another way to say that too is in the state of Tennessee is you cannot represent a buyer without it. Do you know that? So if they want you to negotiate on their behalf or whatever, it's like, state of Tennessee, I cannot represent you without this being signed. One thing, that's one thing. Another one is I'm not going to show you properties without signing it. You say it in a nice way, but right? Okay. Let's see. The whole other thing is, hey, I might miss some listings if I just work with you. You have to so what is in the back of their mind? So I got this when I was showing buyers properties. They wanted to see everything because in the back of their mind, they thought they're missing something out and they're missing out. I'm missing out, I'm missing out, I'm missing out, I'm missing out. And you have to eliminate that thought process by saying, listen, you're getting access to all the listings that all the other agents have that's on the MLS, that's on Zillow. You're getting access to it. On top of, you're getting access to things that you can't even find online. I'm giving you access to all those. So you're seeing everything. And if it shows up tomorrow, you're going to see it. And the next day, you're going to see it. So you're not going to miss out on anything because of the access that we have to the properties. So you have to eliminate that. When you're showing property with people and you're out there and they're just like, you're having them a hard time to, they just want to go continue seeing properties because they think there's that, there's something. So there's one or two things going on there, maybe three. One is if it's a couple, they're both not in agreement. So you got to have a talk. If it's that or they just haven't found really something that they can just, hang their hat on, or we're not listening well enough, or we need to go back and have another conversation about and remind them what they told us. That's why the buyer profile is so good. You can pull it back out and like, has anything changed on here that I'm not aware of? So you can talk about it because some things, things change as they start looking, they start thinking about different things or whatever. And, or they just have this fear that you just have to work them through and just say, listen, and just show them, I'm showing you everything here. Let's get online. I'm going to show you. Physically show them, this is what we do. Boom. We've already looked at all these. Here's all these on Zillow. Nothing new. I'm bringing you any properties that we know about that are off market. You've seen them all. So what do you want to do? Here's all your choices. Which one you want to buy? That's how you present it to them. What if we find our own? We've already talked about that. Of course, that's, with the buyer. That's why it's important to have the VIP buyer agreement, and because people will look. And I'm telling you, even though they sign an agreement with you, do you think they just quit looking online? No. They are scouring the internet, man. They are looking and looking and looking, and they're talking to other agents. They're talking to whoever, because they're after it, and they're looking. So don't think that just because you got an buyer agreement with them that you're just going to kick back and they're just going to puppy dog with you, because they're out there looking, and then they're going to be like, "How come you haven't sent me this house, Kim?" Well, it's because it's $60,000 more than what you told me you want to spend. Well, you should have still sent it. So and so sent it to me. Well, okay, I'm going to up your budget to $400,000 then. No, well, okay. If you don't let me up your budget, then it won't come through. You just have to tell them. So just tell me what you want to do. Do you want to stay at $350,000 or can I up it to $400,000? And that's the reason why you didn't get the $400,000 house, because it's $50,000 over.
But like within like a $10,000 range, that's okay to have them work that way.
What?
Like within a $10,000.
If I'm setting up a buyer's, I'm setting it up up to $50,000 over anyway.
Okay.
They always buy up, because I may send them. Let's say they say that they want to spend up to $350,000, and I send them something for $395,000, and they fall in love with it. They're going to trip over themselves to buy it, because everything they're going to start now. What happens is they're going to start. This is the house now. I'm going to compare everything to. It's $395,000, the $350,000, the $340,000, the $325,000 houses don't compare to this one. My job just got easier now. That's it. That's the benchmark.
When you're sending them these listings, Tracy, is it better to do it through KB4 or through the MLS?
No, it's better for you to send it to your email. Go into MLS, send it to your email to come to you, and then forward the link to them. Same thing as Zillow. Set up a profile and go in and change it to what they're looking for. So when anything comes on Zillow, to have it sent to you. Then you send it on to them. Okay? But most likely, they're going to see it, because I'm telling you, they're on it. They're going to see just about everything you send them. I mean, there may be a few, but most of it they've already seen. But if you're filtering it out and you're sending it to them first before they go look, you look better. And then you're sending them properties that that aren't on the market. Let's see. We deal with this up front. Usually with the ISAs, we'll deal with it. We only want to meet with the listing agent, and they'll call us about a property. They'll think we have the listing, because that's the way kind of Zillow paints it, And so we meet with them, and then let's say they come in and they realize then that you're not the listing agent. Well, we only want to work with the listing agent. And the only reason why they want to do that is because they think they're going to save money. So during your presentation, you're going to show them. But before then, you need to have that internalized of why they need you as the buyer agent. You have to have that part internalized, because it's going to come up, and you're going to have to be able to knock that down. So, tell me why. Give me a few pointers to why they only want to work with the listing agent, or they shouldn't want to work with the listing agent.
You
Yeah.
have a fiduciary responsibility to represent you. They're not going to represent your interests. They're not going to negotiate the results of the home inspection on your behalf, blah, blah, blah.
I think one of the bigger ones is right off the gate. I would just tell them, well, that the listing agent, he has an agreement with that seller, right? So if you go in to make an offer through that listing agent, who do you think he represents? Doesn't represent you, he represents the seller. And then what do you think he's going to tell the seller? Everything and anything you tell him. He can legally go and tell the seller. And what does that do how does that, do you think that strengthens your offer or your chances, or does it weaken it? Oh, it's going to weaken it. And this usually dispels it real quick because they don't realize, they don't think that process through. Okay, here's one I like, is we want to think about it before we make an offer. So I've got some ways where often I've heard people say, we want to pray about it. I've literally done this. I'd said, people say, I want to pray about it. I'm going, let's go. I'll grab a hold of their hands, literally grab a hold of their hands and say, let's pray. And they'd be shocked. I'm going, no, we're going to pray. We can hear from him right now. Let's pray. You know, it just shocks them. But, praying about it. But there's another thing is what I like, I don't know if it's in here or not, but what I like doing is I like to say, okay, how much time are you going to need? Well, we need overnight. Okay. Well, let me ask you, you like this house, right? Yeah. You feel like it's the one? We feel pretty good about it. Well, we've seen several. Yes. And this is the one? Yeah. Well, let me ask you, if you got a text from me in the morning when you wake up and you see a text from me stating that this house went under contract, you going to be okay with that? And just be quiet. Let it soak in a minute. What do you mean? Well, somebody else could be having a conversation with a buyer right now. And what if the buyer put in an offer tonight and you didn't, you slept on it, and then I'd get a phone call in the morning from the other agent, or a text late in the night from the other agent said that they just got an accepted offer. So I text you in the morning, and when you wake up, you see my text stating you messed this house. It just went under contract with another buyer. You gonna be okay with that? Okay. That's my favorite one to use. Here's another one. Will you reduce your commission if we list our home with you? This is talking about listing. Answer is no. Okay. We'll go beyond that. So, Holly, what do you say to that? Will you reduce your listing if you list your home with you?
I'm sorry, I'm saying no. You asked me again.
I apologize. What do you say to sellers who say, will you reduce your commission if I list my house with you?
Okay, great question. So, there are a lot of discount agents out there, and one of the things is if you've got an agent that is willing to reduce their fee, think of how quickly they're going to reduce the sales price of your house in order to get it sold.
I like that.
Was that one of them up there?
No.
Okay. But that's usually what I do say.
Yeah.
And then I'll just talk about the benefits of, because are we on sellers, the benefits of listing.
It's just this particular objection was on here. It's a seller. So another thing, and we'll talk more about sellers tomorrow, probably maybe later today, but another way, I'd like that one. I also like the fact that with sellers, I present them with stats and facts. Stats and facts and third-party endorsements. And what I say to that is like, well, Mr. Seller, is I get 3% more than the average agent does. So, I'm 7%, the average agent, let's say they're 6%. It's only 1% different, but I'm going to get you 3% more. So if I'm selling your house, and let's say I get you 99% of the asking price, and the other agent only gets you 96% of the asking price, that's 3% difference. You're paying me 1% more in commission. You're up 2% net compared to hiring me than anybody else. That's one. The other one is I sell houses faster and for top dollar. We usually get, really close to 100% asking price. Matter of fact, slide. There's a seller, on our seller presentation, it shows the differences of how much we get more than the average agent. It's just a nominal amount. But there's all kinds of ways to get around that. Let's go back to buyers. They want to write a ridiculous offer. This used to happen to me. So This is why I like having buyers in my car with me the entire time I'm showing them houses. Somebody just don't do that. I don't know why, but this is why I like it. Because I'm always closing. ABC, always be closing. And if you're one of those agents who likes to I'll just rather them ride with their self and I'll ride by myself, you're making a huge mistake. They need to ride with you. Because one, you're in control and you're in the conversation and you're constantly talking about, okay, we just sold 3 houses, and you're always asking them to rank the houses. So the first house you go see, you go, hey, do you like this one? Yeah, I like this one. Okay. Second house we go see, hey, do you like this one better than the first one? No, I like the first one better. Okay, that one. Now you pull that paper. That's number 1. This one's number 2. Go see house number 3. Which one at the top? If you had to rank these, Mr. Buyer, which ones do you rank this one? Oh, this one moves to the top. Okay, number 1. Number 1 now moves to number 2. The other one moves to number 3. We're on house number 5. You just rank them. And I always have the top 3. I don't go past that. Have the top 3. Why am I doing that? A couple of reasons. One is it tells me which house they're most likely going to make an offer on. Also, it gives me 2 other backup houses just in case we don't work a deal out with the first house. And so then when we go sit down and write an offer, we're talking about at least 2 houses. After if we come together putting an offer on one, then we have another one that they like just as much. Okay, so now I'm not having to get back in the car and show them more houses, especially if they're out of town buyers. It really saves you a lot of time. But on a ridiculous offer, let's say they want to make a ridiculous offer. Most of them will tell you, hey, how long has this house been on the market? So there's a key right there. Most buyers will ask that question. How long has this house been on the market? Why is that? Why do they think that? Well, they think if it's been on the market longer, I can get it at a better price. Right? So remember this when we start talking about sellers. Remember the statement, buyers ask, how long has the house been on the market? All right, so so you have to ask, so the thing is like, well, it's been, 210 days. Wow, I wonder why. Well, you know what? Here's what's happened. If you've seen price, they start off the price too high. They've dropped it $60,000. Now they're in the right price. Matter of fact, the agent when I called the list, set the listing up, they told me they had several showings on it today. So they got it in the right price. What I just do there, pre-framed them. Another thing is you're at the house, and let's say that they like this house, and then you let's say this. Let me go back. We've solved 5 houses. We're going to go back and we're going to look at house number 1 again. I like doing this. A couple of reasons why. I go back in, and so they've seen everything. They go back in because they forget. They've just solved 5 or 6 houses today, and there's it gets kind of blending together. So you go back in, and we start talking about the features and what they love and whatever about the house. Hey, this sounds like the house for you. You want to make an offer on it? Let's go make the office, make an offer. Yeah, that's good. Okay, hey, before we do that, let me call the other agent. Let me call the listing agent. Let's check in, make sure no offers have come in. And then you have a list of questions that you're going to ask. We'll get to that in a little bit, but what I'm trying to prove here is there's things to do to pre-frame to keep ridiculous offers from happening. You can do this way before they even pick the house that they want. And that's what I want to train you on. But let's just say we haven't done a good job of pre-framing and they come up with a ridiculous offer. You can ask them, how'd you arrive at that price? That's the first question you ask them. They're going to say, well, I just think it's what it's worth. Okay. So then that's when you go into the CMA. You show them, this is what the market says. And let's say it's $40,000 low. And we've just shown them that everything's selling at 98% of asking price in that price range. You can ask them, so, well, if you were the seller, what would your response be? Knowing, that the market is selling at this price point or this percentage, what do you think the seller's response is going to be? Think, well, you never, it doesn't hurt to try. Yeah, it does too. Let me tell you how it hurts. They're going to reject your offer, and then if you want to go back in and put another offer in, they're going to be pretty it's going to be pretty hard pressed to get them to really negotiate with you because you offended them. Now, do you want to offend them, or do you want to let me help you and guide you through this process? I'll get you, we'll get it off, off the asking price. I'll help you, but you got to help me help you. And if you do this, if we send this offer in, you're going to really cut my knees out from under me on helping you. That's not in here, but that's how it works. We already talked about how you get paid by sale by owner. Anybody have any questions with that? Okay. Let's see. This is attaining appointment prior to showing at the property. Boom. Here's at the property. This is closed. Hey, it looks like you guys like this one. Why don't we go back to the office and talk about it in depth? Chances are, if you like it, other buyers will like it too. So let's waste any time. Okay? All right. So that's one way of that happening. But you always want to make this phone call. We'll be talking about in a minute. Let's see. What's this? Simple buyer closing phrase. All right. Here's one. Avoid this critical mistake. It is not the buyer's job to call you. Follow up with each buyer to gauge motivation, get them into houses. Do not just send them out MLS printouts. Wait on them to call you. So that's a big pet peeve of mine. If you're just sending them emails and not following up with a phone call after you sent them the email.
What happens if you do that?
Well, if I catch you, I'm going to reprimand you. Yeah, so it's not allowed on my team. You just send them the listing and you call them, right? Here you go. Here's the prior offer, writing the offer. So they say, yes, this is the house. We want to make an offer. You're going to call the listing agent and confirm it's still available. That's the first thing you want to do. You don't want to run back to the office, make an offer, submit it. They go home, and the agent goes, this was under contract. This went under contract. That's a conversation you don't want to have. So this is great because you want to put them on speakerphone. Go call the agent and say, hey, is this home still available? Yes. Any offers? If yes, how does it look? Well, we're countering. We expect to counter back tomorrow by noon. Okay. So now you know you got a small amount of time to get your offer in. Or if they go, no, we don't have any offers. I always like to ask this question. Have you had any offers? No, we haven't had any offers. Tells me a lot there. I got some room there. Or they can say, yes, we've had some offers. We just couldn't put them together. Okay. So if I get an offer to you in the next 30 minutes to an hour, when can you present it? Yeah. So the reason why we're doing this is because we want our buyer to hear that the agent is saying, I can get, I'll give them the offer to him this evening. And I'll talk to him tonight. Or I'll talk to him first thing in the morning. It gives me a time when I got to put a deadline. This one, we don't have to worry about. Just make sure you get all the information. See if it's attached to the MLS brief or whatever you're going to need for Tennessee property disclosures and all that. What's your seller's time frame for a closing date? This is why you're asking this. Is there's other things besides price that are important to sellers. The timing for a closing. Maybe it's fast, maybe it's longer. You just want to know that. And if your buyer's okay with it, then that helps in making your offer stronger than what any other offers may come in. Is there anything really important to the seller I should know and try to include in the offer? Or how inflexible is the price? So anything important the seller would want to know? Well, you know what? Here's what the seller's going to want. After they close, they're going to want 2 weeks to vacate the property. That's important to them. Right? And your buyers want this house. So now you just got a leg up on anybody else who's putting an offer in because most people aren't asking this question. And then how flexible are they on the price? Yeah, there's some flexible. Most agents tell you, well, you can probably get it $5,000, $10,000 off. I mean, they'll give you the price and tell you. They just will. So the reason why we do this is that when things happen, if things happen in the process and you've submitted the offer and all of a sudden, tomorrow morning comes around and you haven't heard anything, and the agent said, I'll present it in the morning, and we gave them until noon, and it's noon, we haven't heard anything. I can't reach the agent. I'm lifting voicemails, text messages, nobody's responding. Well, I don't look like, it's not me, it's the other agent, because my buyer heard in their presence what he said he'd do. Okay, you go over the numbers of the buyer, you write the offer, you deliver the offer, follow up for signatures. Remember, you don't have a deal until it's signed and it's delivered to all parties. Give yourself a pat on the back. Here's all the things creating the offer. Preventing miscommunications and getting our fee. Be sure and add the following paragraph. Now, we don't do this anymore, so forget this. We used to use this. Then agents started getting smart and just, not smart, but just making it difficult, and they start scratching out that buyer agency fee. My seller won't pay that. Your seller don't care to pay that. You don't want it to pay it. You don't want your seller to pay it. But they would start scratching that out. So we just go to all closing costs and prepaids paid by the seller on behalf of the buyer, and we just do the percentage. Okay. Process for buyer clients offers. We have a whole checklist on that. That's exactly not it, but what you want to do is you want to pre-frame the buyer and let them know what can happen and so there's prepare the buyer for one of three outcomes: either acceptance of it, rejection, or a counteroffer. Right? Most of the time, if they're not at full price, it's going to be, or they're not real close to it, it's going to be a counteroffer. So here's another part. Should there be another simultaneous offer to purchase that property? Buyer of this contract agrees to pay X dollars, usually $500 to $1,000, over any simultaneous offer not to exceed a sales price of the highest that they're comfortable with. Tanner, Holly?
Yes.
On the multiple offers, we're doing the buyer of this contract agrees to pay X amount of dollars over any simultaneous offer not to exceed a sales price of whatever the highest our buyers agreed to.
Yeah,
Right.
for a good escalation clause.
Yeah, it's the escalation clause, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably need to, because we've had several people.
Yeah, we need to probably have that information. And
Let me take a screenshot of that.
yeah, that's not exactly what we use, the wording.
But something similar to that.
That's in our dot loop.
Yeah, I just need that wording so I can put it in here for training purposes.
Oh, you want the escalation?
The escalation clause. Is that exactly it?
I copied that.
Okay, so I have it. Okay, well, never mind, I've got it.
It's in dot loop in the clauses.
Okay. So what this does, guys, is like if you get into there's a multiple offer situation, and you know that this property is going to go. I mean, the agent can tell you, hey, I've got 3 people that say they're putting an offer in. Okay, red alert, we need to do this. So you just need to tell your buyer, hey, you want this house? This house is worth more than what they're asking for it. And do a CMA, educate the buyer, and show them what happens, or what it's going to go to, or what it should be priced at. We have agents out there who don't know how to list a property, and sellers, they don't even, I don't know, they don't do CMAs, they don't really do any kind of real fact finding for the sellers, and they'll just do like, I feel like it'll sell for this, and they underestimate the price. We've had a few of those happen in Sevier County on cabins. Like severely underestimated. And so anyway, you just need to do your homework, show the buyer what the property is really worth, and just say, are you comfortable paying up to this amount if we have to? And then here, the counter-propose showing final negotiated price upon acceptance of this offer. This would be included any other offer date. So then also they have to show you what part, the last page, or the page of the, don't they have to show you what part of the contract?
You can.
First and last page.
First and last page, where it shows the offer price, and then the last page of where they signed it to show proof that they had an offer at this price. That's why we come back and took your offer at XYZ.
Yeah, it's that third line from the bottom. I know it's RPC because you're right up on it, but should this event occur,
Okay.
the broker must provide buyer
First and third page. There we go.
I've changed it to whatever.
First and last page. Yeah. All right. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay. Then we have our instructions to the closing attorney, which basically we list out what, let's say you're the, we're the buyer. We're on the buyer side, so we have the commission percentage. So if we just go by the code broke what they're doing, and then we just put in our request that the buyer requests how much goes to King's Real Estate for the buyer agency agreement, which is attached here too. So if you don't have a buyer agreement, you can't do this. If you don't have our buyer agreement already signed, you just can't do this. You're limited to whatever the MLS says. Okay? So, if you decide to work with a buyer that doesn't sign it and you don't collect the 4%, then we're going to work out what your split would have been at 4%, or what my split, or what the split to the company would have been at 4%. And then whatever's left, you can get. I'm getting my part. So if you want to get paid what you need to get paid, you need to negotiate it. Make sense? Rich? That make sense?
Let's do that again real quick.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because you was looking at me like, what? So let's say that you decided not to get a buyer's agreement signed, and you went and worked for that buyer anyway. And you ended up selling them something, and you only get what the MLS is offering is 2.5%. Well, what we would have done, what we do is we calculated on a 4%, what the commissions would have been on 4%, and then what King's Real Estate portion would have been based upon 4%. And then you take the number of times 2.5% times what the gross commission would be. So instead of you getting maybe $4,000, you might get $1,000. I'm not taking a hit.
Understand.
Okay. I'm training. You have all the tools in the world to get to negotiate and get your fee. There's a reason behind that. You understand that I can't do what I do for you guys and not collect our fee.
But at the same time, why would I do that? Because
Well, I'm just
we're not
saying.
supposed to.
I know. I'm just throwing it out there. I've had agents that cowboyed up and went and did that a couple times, and they're no longer on the team. But I'm just saying that's happened. But the other thing is too, you have to understand that, first of all, it cost us almost $1,200 to put somebody in front of you. That's before they even buy anything. So every appointment you sit in front of, it's almost a $1,200 cost. That's what it costs the company to get them there at that point. And then that's why we're constantly working on looking at your conversion rate. We need you to be at a good conversion rate. We want you to be successful, but we need you to be successful, because if you can't, then it's no good it just doesn't work for us. It's not working for you, it's not working for us. Because we spend a lot of money generating business to put in front of you guys. So that's why it's accountability. But it's also tracking, because we got to make sure that we're, profitable. And if you're not collecting your fees or not converting, then it just doesn't work. Okay, buying a home. Here's a quiz. Buying a home is a blank, not a blank.
Process and not an event.
There you go. True or false? Is it okay to start working with a buyer without signing an agreement?
No.
True or false? False. We should use the firm method to decide if we will work with a buyer. F is,
Financing,
Financially able.
financially stable.
yeah. I is,
Interested in signing VIP.
okay. Quit reading it. You got it written down, I know. R is
Realistic.
realistic. M is motivation. Rich is over there reading it. It's in the open book test, Rich. All right. So, what's some of our buyer benefits?
The buyback guarantee.
Okay.
Home warranty,
Okay.
coming soon,
What's that?
coming soon, off markets,
Off markets. All right. What else?
admin, staff.
Team
Financing.
financing. It's good. Explain our VIP buyer guarantee.
If you're not satisfied with your house, we'll buy it right within 24 months.
That's a statement. Well, explain it to me. How's it work? We didn't cover it in this, but it's in your,
If you're not happy with your house,
it's in the
Tracy will
certificate.
Yeah.
Tracy will buy it back out for-
What's that?
You'll have to buy a house from King's Real Estate of equal or greater value.
Okay. So in that certificate that you give them, memorize it. A lot of it, all the benefit, because there's stipulation to it. One is, if they got a job transfer, doesn't count.
Divorce.
To get a divorce doesn't count. Has to be something they have to be unhappy with. Your dog died there. I didn't say that, but it doesn't count. But things, but another thing is you have to be moving up to another one of our houses. Right? All right, good. All right. All right, list 5 tips to dealing with objections.
Isolate,
Isolate's 1.
cushion,
Cushion, okay, that's 2.
repeat,
Repeat it, that's 3.
Handle.
Handle in it,
Close.
close. Good job. Give me a buyer close prior to showing houses. Prior to showing a house, what's a buyer close?
I don't understand the question.
I don't either.
Okay.
I'm sure I know the answer, but give me a buyer close prior to showing houses?
Mhm, prior to
would
showing
you tell
houses.
a buyer to prep them, like for the market, or what's?
That every home is perfect. Am I on the right track?
I don't know. Go ahead.
And that there will be things you'll want to change. Oh, gosh.
That's one.
Okay.
Another one, buyer close prior to showing houses, is urgency.
Yes, sir.
About hey, if you find a house you like, most likely other buyers are going to like that same house. Right.
I carry around contracts with me, so. if they
Yeah.
like it,
So
they
you're
like it.
you're pre-framing the urgency. You're doing it's a close prior to showing a house. Hey, just want you to know that we run across a house that you really like. We'll need to move on it pretty quick because if you like it, there's going to be a lot of other buyers that like it too. All right. All right. Give a buyer close at the property.
If you don't make an offer, will you be okay if I call you tomorrow to tell you it's gone or no?
You could do that, but the buyer close at the property would be like, hey, looks like you like this house. Well, we shouldn't waste any time. We should get back to the office and make an offer. You guys okay with that? Then they say yes, then you want to make the phone call to the listing agent before you head back to the office with them on speaker talking about those things. Give a buyer close immediately after writing the offer. I didn't go over this one, but it's Just think about it. Buyer closes immediately after writing an offer.
Giving them the next steps of what's going to take place.
Nope, that's not a close. What happens when buyers?
Great decision.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you
You
go.
guys are gonna love this house.
Yeah.
Best decision you ever made, whatever.
Yeah. All right, true or false? Is it not the buyer's job? It is not the buyer's job to call you.
True.
All right. Follow up with each buyer to gauge motivation and get them into houses. Do not just send out MLS printouts or Tracy will fire you, and wait on them to call you. Set them up in your buyer profile system, which is basically you're setting them up in the MLS to get and do Zillow, getting listings sent to you, your inbox. And remember, I really think the best thing is in the subject line is put their name, email address, and phone number. So when it comes in, you know exactly who it's for, and then you have to go look for them. You can call them immediately and all those things. All right, true or false? The buyer profile system is simply a safety net. Buyer profile system is basically houses being sent by email, right? So is it true or false that it's simply a safety net? Okay, yes, it's true. It is a safety net. It's just, it's just a safety net to make sure that they're seeing houses that fit their criteria. It's not the answer of how you're going to sell them a house. It's just a safety net. It's not the, okay, I got you set up, and as soon as you see one, let me know. That's not what it's for. All right, list the top 4 goals your buyer-client offers in order. List the top 4 goals for buyer-client offers. That's a tough one. Top 4 goals for buyer-client offers. I don't care if you get them in order. Just give me 4 of them. What's the buyer's top 4 goals?
Get the house.
Get the house. Price.
I think price would be it.
The community.
I don't know if I know it. I'm not sure where to have to go back to find it. Well, let's just say I know it, and we'll just make stuff up. All right. What's the top 4 goals for a buyer client?
Possession date.
What's that?
Get the house.
Get them the house. Get a house that's, yeah.
Price.
Get our commissions paid so they don't have to.
No, I don't think it's their goal.
What?
That's your goal.
They don't have to. That should be their goal.
Beat out all the other buyers.
Beating out all the other buyers, getting the house.
Okay.
We have 2 now.
Possession date. Possession date.
There, I think that would be a good one. I don't know if that's one of the top 4, but I'm not sure I even remember seeing this on this slide. But I think getting a house that fits their needs and the right price and timing, possession date, and probably financing. Okay, homework. Video training number 3, demonstration of value to buyers by Laura Peterson. Laura Peterson is in Orlando, Florida area, and she's in our titanium group, and she did a good job on demonstration of value to buyers. Video number 4, this is a very good one. This is the buyer profile presentation. Kristen Stampini is an awesome teacher, coach. And she's fantastic. She's been to our office training twice. And this one was the first time when she came. It was an awesome presentation. Buyer profile presentation. And how thorough we can be right up front. Asking all the questions, getting all the information, identifying them as what disc personality they are, and making sure that we get all the details and making it all about them when you first meet them before you just walk in and dive in and doing the presentation, which is what we used to do.
What was the number 3 video training?
It is demonstration of value to buyers. Number 4, buyer profile presentation. Ready? Got those two? Got one more because you got homework. Buyers Are Not Liars by Warren Flax. I love this one. Warren's a good friend. He's not in real estate anymore. He took over his parents' business up in Philly. I still talk to him almost every week anyway. But this is an excellent teaching, and it really helps you to understand buyers and understand how you as an agent need to help them in the process of buying. It's a lot about listening, and it's also about having what we call come to Jesus meeting, and then the Warren really categorizes it into a box, and there's 4 reasons. There's 4 categories of why the buyer hasn't pulled a trigger. And I just need you to, so every one of these you're going to write a summary for it on, but this one is really good, and it will help you to be a very good buyer's agent and to help you to help people make a decision. Some people just get stuck. They become paralyzed. They don't know what to do. Your job is to help them, guide them, nudge, not push, not pull, but just nudge, and to help them make them the best informed decision that they can make. And so this is an excellent one. And he's talking about the buyers are not liars, because in the industry we all say buyers are liars. They're not liars, they're just confused. And the reason why they're confused is sometimes it's us. We confused them. We showed them too much, or we showed them not enough, or we didn't make things clear, or we didn't really listen to what their needs were, or we didn't really catch the point that they're both not in agreement. And if they're both not in agreement, you got to help them come into agreement. You got to play marriage counselor sometimes. You have to come in. I've had to do this a lot, especially in the investment world. It's like the guy, he's all about making money. She's all about, I want to like where it's at. And sometimes you just have to just look at the woman and say, the female, and go, okay, do you care if it makes money? Yeah, well, it needs, yeah. So which one's more important to you? How many times are you going to be here? Probably twice a year. Does it really matter if it has this or that? Does it really matter what the carpet looks like? Because you can change the carpet if you need to, Or is it more important that it makes X amount of dollars for you? Or, does it really matter it takes 5 more minutes longer from the parkway than what you really want to be? Are you the one who's going to be renting it 95% of the time? Or are you going to be here 5% of the time? You have to have those conversations. You have to get them to connect from this is an investment, I'm not living here, or a residential house, It's like, sometimes I've had to work mainly with the men. I want a workshop. I ain't buying it without it, Joe, I was going to call him something else, but it makes sense. I was going to call him Dick, but I didn't mean it that way. Is his name? But Joe, that we've looked for that, and you're not willing to pay the extra $80,000 for the workshop. And the houses that we found that had the workshop, your wife is not happy with. Remember, happy wife, happy life. So you can build a workshop here, Joe. It's just you're not going to have it the day you close. But Mama's happy with the house. And she's going, yeah, Joe, I like the house. So anyway, this buyer, it's not like that, but that's basically his gist of how he handles it. And I thought he did a great job doing that. All right, so that is your homework. You're going to need time to what? You have 1, 2, 3 of those that you got to do. And let's see what else I've got here. If we want to. So do you guys want to stop there, or do you want to keep going? Because we're moving into sellers. What do you want to do?
When do you want those videos done by?
Well, it's this week. It's fine. But what do you guys want to do? It is 10 minutes till 3. I've got time, if you got time. Okay. So we have your sales authorization agreement, your seller benefits presentation, your seller's authorization agreement attachments, all your attachments go with it. Here's what to know. All your scripts and dialogues from agent manual, your seller's USPs. Universal, unique selling proposition for sellers is what?
Guaranteed sale program.
Your home sold, guaranteed, or we'll buy it. It's on our sign. Your home sold, guaranteed, or I'll buy it. Making compelling offers, seller benefits, benefits presentation attachments, overcoming sellers' objections. So all these things we're going to be working on.
Do we have a manual that we're supposed to have, or does that mean?
We have one
a deck of
corporately,
I remember seeing it.
and it's here. I don't know where it's at, but
But we just make our own binder of tools that we need. That's what
you can do that, yeah. But the actual agent manual, we have a copy here, I think. I'll have to ask Holly if it's here or if it's in Sevierville, but if we don't, agent manual. The one that Chelsea made up for us. Do we just have one copy of that?
We had a couple in the, I don't know where they got unpacked at.
All right, they're in what I call the garage.
Okay.
They're in there. We can find them in there. I remember seeing them in the book back. So one thing we want to make sure is we just ditch the listing mentality. We don't just list homes. What we do, that's what discount brokers do. We specialize in selling properties. I'm not saying that we don't take listings. I'm saying we don't have the listing mentality of just listing a home. We actually specialize in selling the properties, not listing them and hoping they sell. We have hundreds of motivated buyers calling us each month, hundreds in our database looking for a home now, and a citywide buyer agency network of a whole bunch. The seller is authorizing us to sell the property, not list the property, by giving us exclusive right to do so. So just think about that. I mean, the seller's not just they're not authorizing you to list it, they're authorizing you to sell it. The goal is a signed exclusive right selling agreement that we have. This is our call script, our universal callback script again. Same kind of questions they're asking the seller for motivation and timing, establishing it. Are you planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? Are you looking to sell your house the next 3 to 6 months? If you were to move, would you be staying in the area or are you moving away? The reason why we're asking that question is we want to be able to help them buy a house if they're looking to stay in an area. If they're moving away, we still want to help them. We can refer them to someone. We have a large network throughout all of North America. Let's see. And then you want to ask the question, when do you think that might be? So you ask the question, we asked the question, if you were to move, would you be staying in the area or moving away? I'm staying in the area. Well, when do you think that might be that you're looking to make a move? Same question as number one, just a different way of finding out. All right, do you have an agent to help you with that? You want to find out. And would you prefer to find your next home first before listing your present home, or would you prefer to list your home before finding a new home? Most of the people out there, over 80%, are going to say, I got to sell this one before I can buy a new one. But now in the marketplace, we're going to cross the fear of, if I put my house to sell, it's going to get sold before I buy one. So really what I want to do, Sarah, is I want you to go help me find a house, then I'll list my house. What are you going to say? What's the number one answer in sales? What's the number one response? Yes.
She said always agree, right?
It's always agree. Yes.
Whatever you say. Whatever you
Yes, I'll help you.
Okay.
But we're going to have, but this is what the ISAs do. And then they book the appointment. So what happens on your end as the agent, you go in, you're going to know that they're also a buyer, but they got to sell a home, but they're going to be on the fence a little bit about how to list it. So your job is to show them that, listen, putting your home in the market and selling it doesn't mean you got to move out next week. There's a process to it. By the time we're going to do, by the time we get the photos and all this stuff, we get going, we get it on the marketplace, we get an offer, we negotiate it. Time they, goes through the closing, we're at least 45 to 60 days away. But during that time, a couple things can happen. One is as soon as we list your house, we're going to go start finding your house. Why do you want to do it? I've had agents tell me, I don't want to waste my time finding them a house, and they got to sell theirs first, and the sellers aren't going to take it, whatever. What happens is you'll find them that house that they want. They get real motivated real quick to sell their house. So if you go into a listing, you get the house listed, turn right around, do the buyer's agreement, get it signed. Don't assume they're going to work with you just because you had your house listed. Do not show properties even to your sellers unless you have a VIP buyer agreement. Okay? All right, so then you're going to turn around and you're going to start helping them find a house. Another thing is too, is you can calm their nerves, is you say, listen, the date of possession is going to be negotiable. There may be a buyer out there that's willing to say, hey, we're in no hurry to move in. Take a month. They may even close and rent it back to you for a few months. How would you like that? You're going to relieve that anxiety of like, I'm going to put my house for sale and I'm going to have to move next week. That goes in their head. And so you just remove all that anxiety and just explain to them how the process really works, and that no, you're not going to be kicked out of your house, within a week or two. It's going to be probably 60 days at the earliest. But we're going to negotiate it all. We'll see what we can do. Because most of them don't know that we can negotiate with the buyer and say, hey, we close on this house on the date you want to close on it. My seller will turn around and rent it from you for another 30 days or 60 or whatever we can negotiate. All right? Okay. I've done that several times, so that works. So we just have our seller profile that we have. And then this is something that the ISAs do. We call it the BOM. That's what we can use for it internally, but it's called the home selling kit. Have you seen one?
No, not in.
Do we have one here anywhere?
Maybe the garage, you want me to go look?
I doubt it fits in there. I haven't seen one, but you can go look. But we need to get some down here, don't we?
We do.
Tracy, I have a question about the last slide.
Okay, let's go back to the last slide.
How often,
Which one?
in a seller's market, do you use the option like a bridge loan? Hey,
In a seller's-
Here's a house you really like. I know you want to sell your house. You got a lot of equity in it. Man, it's a seller's market. Why don't you look at a bridge loan?
You-
Get this.
You could do that. The other part of that is really my guaranteed sale
Just
program
get
works
these
good, right?
bridge loans and stuff like that.
I don't know. I'm not in the mortgage business, and
Can you elaborate on what a bridge loan is?
it's just like you have equity in your house. And so I want to buy a house. Let's say I live in Sevierville and I want to buy a house in Knoxville, but I can't actually close on this house until I get my house sold. But I can take it and work with the bank and say, hey, listen, my house is for sale and I got X amount of equity in it, and I want to buy this house. They'll do lending, close on this house. Then the bank has this one. Then as soon as this one closes, the proceeds of that goes to using it as collateral to, it goes as a down payment. It goes into the, to the principal or amount of the loan on the one that we actually closed on. It's called a bridge. It just locks it. Instead of going to a seller going saying, hey, once my house closes, I'll buy yours. It's just like, hey, I want to close on your house in 30 days. Whether my house sells or not,
So
doesn't even.
it's a stronger offer.
It's a stronger offer. Yeah. See, that's how the beauty of our guaranteed sale program works. So it's almost like this. If we have a seller and I can guarantee the sale of this house, they can go ahead and make an offer on this one. They don't have to do it contingent upon their house selling. It's already got a contract. It's just closing. My house is closing. That's guaranteed. I've guaranteed it. It's going to close. So I've removed that contingency off. So that's the beauty of our guaranteed sale program. So sending the BOM. So a BOM is a box, and it has all this material in it, and it's basically our listing presentation printed out, but better. And it's about pre-selling us. So we send this to the sellers before you meet with them is our goal. And I picked up a unique way about using Uber to deliver them when you need them, like delivered before USB. Uber. And it could be as cheaper than send it USB or US, whatever you call it. UPS. I was saying UPS. So
So, are you doing that?
No, but we can. If we get into a situation where we have just 24 hours to get it to them, then just have Uber to come pick it up and run it and deliver it to their house.
Yeah, because we could have it from here too. Yeah, so we need to
That's
do that.
really, really good.
That's where we have to have the ISAs to make sure they understand that when we have a short, if they get pushed into that kind of an appointment. So anyway, that was pretty cool. So the biggest point is trying to get this material into their hands. So it's really cool when it comes in and it's in a USP packet, and the ISAs are telling them up front, hey, we're sending you a home selling kit. Be sure and look it over before you meet with your agent. It's got a lot of materials in there to do, and better yet, what not to do to get your house sold. So they're looking at it, and it's pre-sale, 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 pre-sale. It's very effective, very impressive. So this will help pre-sale the seller on our home selling system. If the seller has ample time to review the materials, you will be in an inevitable position of having the seller wanting you to be the one to help them over and above all the other agents or doing it themselves. I'm telling you, it's very impressive. So what happens is on this too is when you show up, you want to ask them, say, hey, did you have a moment to look over the home selling kit that we sent you, overnighted to you, or had delivered to you? And if you don't see it out on the table, you want to ask. And they can say, oh yeah, we got that. But do you have time to look at it? Not all of it. Well, go get it, bring it out. Let's take a look at it. And you want to go through it with them. This is this, this is this, this is this. Look at, you want to talk about, here's the 27 tips to sell your house, here's the whatever. And so you want to go through that with them. All right. The Ultimate Seller's Benefits presentation is the most important contact you will have with a seller prospect. You have to use the presentations either on a buyer or seller, but on a seller, you have to do the presentation. Even if they say they don't want to hear about it, you still got to do it somehow, some way. You've got to give them the visual of the presentation, because they're not going to understand the benefit and the value of hiring you if you don't. Because you're going to be asking for fees and all those things that's above the normal average agent fees. And you have to do this to set yourself apart from being an average agent. Okay? And how well you do in the presentation will determine whether this prospect becomes your client or someone else's. So you have to make sure you identify what disc personality they are. So you can present to them in the style that they need to be presented to. What will make your presentation ultimately effective is inside-out knowledge of how each of your consumer programs work and how and why they will benefit from benefit the customer. You've got to know it inside out. I'm not saying you have to have it memorized. You just need to know how it works. You've got to know how this the biggest thing that when Holly and Tanner was doing a lot of the follow-up autopsy calls on sellers, one of the biggest thing was the guaranteed sale wasn't explained to them well at all. And so, what a confused mind does? Nothing. If they're confused, a confused mind does nothing. So if you leave them confused, or if you're there confusing them, then they're not going to do anything. You're not going to get it. They're just going to be confused. And the next person comes in, they're not confused, they get the listing. So when you're there, you have to know the programs inside and out. All right, so we're going to work on those. Consistency in the way that all key points are mapped out and explained to the prospective customer. No matter their personality style, this is something you do. You know the program, how it works, and you know how all the key points are mapped out and explained to the prospective customer. And then flexibility in the way these points are delivered to your prospects, given that different personality styles require different presentation style. Paradigm of buyers in waiting. Now, we had the paradigm for the buyers. What was the paradigm for the buyers? And when we were talking to them, what paradigm were we trying to present to the buyers?
Coming soon.
What?
The coming soon homes.
We had houses. So remember, buyer wants a house, What do we have when we're talking to buyers? We have the houses. Seller wants buyers. What do we have? We have the buyers. Just keep it that in mind. Seller wants buyers. Buyer wants houses. All right. So we're not just going to list the property. We are going to sell it because we have motivated buyers in our database ready to buy now. We have buyers in waiting. Okay, while every seller benefits presentation you should be tailored specifically to the individual prospect you're trying to convert, the nuts and bolts of the presentation will be the same. So basically what I'm saying is how you're going to present it to their personality style, the bolts and nuts of the presentation doesn't change, right? We still deliver all these benefits. We still have all these values. It's just the way we deliver it to that personality style, which you'll be role-playing and practicing how to do that. The Ultimate Seller Benefit Presentation is a tool you should bring to every presentation you make. Don't leave home without it. It's like what is it? Credit card, Capital One?
Do you typically go through all 84 slides?
No.
I mean, or you pick and choose the ones you think are most necessary?
Well, that's what you need to learn is based upon the personality. A D, I'll touch on every one of them. But
Just make us push through everything.
Yeah. It all depends on the prospect, but we can role play that. If you should bring this presentation in as a visual aid with your prospects. It will serve to keep both you and your prospect on track. So it's extremely people here by, it's called kinesthetic or learning. They're seeing and hearing. That's how most people learn. All right. So you have to have a visual with them. While you're telling them, your words will be reinforced visually to ensure they understand the point you're making. Even when you are completely comfortable with the information you are communicating, you should still use the presentation manually for your prospect's benefit. I could do a presentation to a seller without using one, but it won't be near as effective if I'm showing them what I'm talking about and walk them through it. Actually, I had to do a lot of that over the phone before we realized we could do it online or had the systems in place. But I sold a lot of houses or listed a lot of properties just over the phone. It's because I had everything internalized. I wasn't reading it. It just became something I just did. When you're listing 20, 30 properties a month, just constantly talking about it, it's just there's a role you get into and it just happens. All right, you should view the dialogue presented in the Ultimate Listing video as your launching point. The intent of the video is to show you what information needs to be covered and to provide you with a logical, conversational, and convincing way of communicating this essential information. This video is found when you join our team. It's on the Craig Proctor site, and it's part of the training they go through for OSAs. They do it. They work a lot on the seller side of this. All right, you'll undoubtedly modify some of the phrases somewhat that feels more like you talking, but if you'll use a lot of my words that I teach you in training and everything, you'll have a better conversion rate. You'll need to add some of your own examples and stories as you go along and as you create your own examples and stories, but you can always use the team examples. We have hundreds of them, and we can point to in Zillow. I can tell you that pretty much all the sellers that I've ever met with before I've met with them have looked us up online. Google, Zillow, they just have. They've checked us out before they even called us. Take my words, make them yours, so the new result is the most powerful presentation you can give your prospect. If you understand and believe what you're saying, and you say it with enthusiasm and conviction, you will be successful. But if you're going to read it to them, that's boring. I don't care what personality style you are. Don't do that. Don't just read to them. People can read themselves. They don't need you reading it to them. What they need you to do is hit the highlights, pinpoint the value, pull out demonstrate, talk about the benefit, talk about the value. Okay?
That's where the videos for the buyer presentation, it really and help explaining it.
Yeah. Avoid the word selling because it has a negative connotation to it over the past couple of decades. So whether you like it or not, a salesperson is perceived by the public to be dishonest and fast talking, a pusher of products and services on unsuspecting customers, doing anything and everything to get the sale. So you try to avoid the word selling. Selling is hard work, it's distasteful, and it contradicts everything that we teach. I believe that selling is what you do when your words have to take place of any real, meaningful customer benefits. Your benefits should be what should sell it, or should sell us. I do no selling when I present to a prospect because I don't have to sell. Describe yourself instead as a real estate professional or a realtor who is in the business of marketing or helping instead of selling. So, hey, I'm Tracy King, and if I was in your shoes, I would say, hey, I'm Tracy King, and I'm a realtor I'm in the business of helping people. Period. I'm in the business of helping people. I'm here to help you today. I'm here to sell your house. I'm here to help you today. All right, that goes a long way. In fact, the act of helping and marketing threads every fiber of the job we do as real estate agents. We are the buyers. We are the conduit to the best buyers, paying top dollar what every seller wants. Every seller they want a buyer who's going to pay top dollar. And that's what we have. We are the conduit to get those top dollar paying buyers. So some of what I'm going to explain to you already will come naturally. It's important to internalize this information, though it becomes second nature. That's something that Tanner got the benefit of because he was spent a whole year in the same office with me. Everywhere I went, pretty much he went, and he just he just heard everything I had to say. Every phone call I was on, every time I met with a buyer or seller, he just learned, and so he internalized a lot of the same words that I use. Okay, and Chris did the same thing. It's just they learn by just being involved in those conversations. So you're going to learn internalizing this information because you're going to be around the other salespeople on our team that have internalized it, and you're just going to listen. And they're all going to say the same thing basically, but it's a little bit tweaks to their, how they, a little word here, maybe there's there, but the key words will always be spoken by all of them who are successful on the team. The key points are always made. The objective of all your communication with your prospects is to get them to say, yes, I would like you to help me and represent me. Yes, that's your objective. 10 tips to be highly effective in the way that I present to my prospects. 1, establish eye contact with all parties. Okay? So, ladies, see this really good looking hunk of a guy married to this lady and you're doing a presentation, don't just be staring at him. Got to look at her too. Same thing for guys. Don't just focus on the gorgeous wife. You got to play eye contact with both of them. It happens. It happens. Establish eye contact with all parties. Go in slow to read your audience. So you're going to make sure that you understand what kind of people they are, what their personality is. Find out, it's a good thing to find out what they do for a living. Always be sure and ask both of them. Don't just ask one. Don't just ask the wife or just ask the husband. Ask them both. Look for pictures on the wall to find out some clues of what kind of personality they are. They have a trophy case. Somebody in the house is a high D. So if there's like deer and bear heads up, somebody's a hunter, most likely a high D. Use your prospects' names. Try to remember their name when you're meeting with them. And, if you address them Mr. Smith and they, oh no, call me Richard. Then okay, hey Richard. Miss Smith, no, call me Ann. So you want to do that. Hey Richard, hey Ann. You want to address them by their name. Buyers in waiting prior time is something you have to hit on. We have the buyers. We have the buyers. We have the buyers. We have the buyers. One thing I like to talk about when I'm doing the presentation is, most agents, this is how they market a house. They put it on the MLS. It gets fed out to Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, and they put a sign in the yard. And that's it. That's their marketing plan. What that tells me, Mr. Seller, is they don't have any buyers. They're using your house to hopefully go get some buyers. We have it differently. We do it reverse prospecting. We already have the buyers. Actually, your house may be already sold. Once we sign it up, the first thing I want to do is put it in front of all the buyers I have. That's the first thing I want to do. That's the reason why we sell a lot of houses before they even hit the MLS. It's because we put them in front of our buyers. We're not waiting. We're not using your house to go try to find a buyer. We're taking your house to go put it in front of the buyers we already have. We market to buyers every single day. We've been marketing to buyers for years before we met you. Could have your house already sold. Get your prospects to say key points for you during the presentation. We're going to be going through all these. There's a way to get them to help you say the key points for you. Ask them questions they cannot give you a brush-off answer to. So, yes and no questions. Yes and no answers. Dress for success. Holly's got a good story on that. I'll let her show that in a little bit.
I hit a big slump. I think a lot of you know this. So I was complaining to Tim.
A little bit. I was going to let you share it in a little bit.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, Eager Beaver. Go back to what you did. No, I'm just going through the 10 tips, and then we're going to address all 10 of these as we go.
You did that the nicest way.
Never call down your competition by name. So we don't do that. Holly was working. She wasn't paying attention when I was down there. She was like, okay. All right, so never call your competition down by name. I've never done that. I've been in a presentation before where people just start. It gets to the point where they just start talking about the other agent. And I'll just get them redirected back to the focus on the presentation. I'll go, I don't know. I don't know what they do or how they operate. Let me just tell you how we do it. And they'll stop usually. They'll say a few more snide remarks and I just ignore it and stay focused on here. I don't jump on the bandwagon and all that stuff. It's just,
If you're in an expired listing conversation,
that comes up a lot.
they really get frustrated because they've been on the market and that agent was not successful, so they really go to
Yeah.
the wall.
Especially if they had an offer and they feel like it should have come together and they blame the other agent. So I'm telling you, if that happens to those agents, no matter what the circumstances is, we don't know what the whole deal is. They'll do the same thing to us. They'll say the same thing. We have to make sure we're not calling down the competition or jumping on the bandwagon. Always focus on your prospect's needs as the basis of your discussion. Anytime you're talking to them, you already find out what their needs are. That's the basis of your discussion. You always point back to that. Everything, your presentation is built on their needs. That's how you're going to do the presentation. You're going to do it to their personality profile, and you're going to do it based upon everything comes right back down to this is why I'm selling, or this is what I need to sell. This is why I need to sell. Read Zero Resistance Selling by Dan Kennedy. It's a book. Read Zero Resistance Selling by Dan Kennedy. Okay? All right, so let's talk about this. Eye contact with all parties. Make sure you divide your attention between both of them, alternating eye contact. If you're cross-sided, it's really cool. You can just watch them both. No, but so we've already talked about that. There's not a whole lot more to talk about that. Just go in slow and read your audience. So personalities are different. Different people will require different approaches. Some of your prospects will need a lot of detail. Others will want you to get straight to the point. You'll want to find out what kind of disc personality. The ISAs will do their best guess on it based upon, especially if they've been talking to them for some period of time, they get pretty close to who it is. But sometimes it's just, with some of our listings, people radio, they call in, it's just a matter of like, yeah, I want to talk to you guys, when can we meet? So they don't have a whole lot of time, but you'll need to make sure you decide, you're the final decision maker on what kind of personality you're meeting with. Remember, the secret to successfully helping your prospect to make a decision you want is to help them the way they want to be helped. So instead of saying sell to them the way they want to be sold, let's help them the way they want to be helped by their personality profile. You still must share all the information with them because the customer programs we offer are truly unique, and they have to be explained. I think that's some of the process when you especially meet with high I or high D, that they have a tendency to not want the details. You just have to slow them down. You have to take the time, and you got to talk about our customer programs, our your home sale guaranteed, that whole thing, how that works. We'll go through that in the presentation. Probably do that tomorrow. Go slow and read the audience, but the manner in which you deliver the information may be embellished for some and abbreviated for others. Right, so you're going to abbreviate it for more of a D. Start slowly to determine which of these roads or which other in between will most effectively convert this particular customer. So that way you can read them. So you're going to start off slow. Don't make an assumption that the high D doesn't have any C in them, because you can run across high Ds that have C, and they're going to want details. And so just find out. You can watch their body language if you need to speed it up or if you need to slow it down. You can tell, okay? Start slowly to determine which world. Okay, we already did that. All right, find out what they do for a living. Listen to the questions they ask you and how they ask them. All of these are clues of their personality type. So for instance, high D, let's say he's CEO. Entrepreneur, high D, CEO of a company. All right, so he's a CEO of a company. He listens. He has questions he asks you. They're very direct, to the point. Boom, boom, boom. Bottom line. Pretty easy to spot that. High I. It's more of a storyline question than just a direct question, right? So you just have to learn those things. C is they're going to have a list of questions. They're going to have the paper in front of them. They're going to go, I have a question for you. Actually, I have 10. High C. Okay. If you find yourself presented to a D, speed up and get straight to the point. If you're talking to an I, maintain fast pace, but also chat with them, warm things up. With the C's and S's, go much slower, making sure they get into all the details. We covered the DISC personality really well, I think, Friday, so you guys get that. Use their prospects' names. Overuse of this technique may become annoying and obvious to your prospect. So if you keep on saying, well, Misty, hey, Misty, look, Misty, it can be kind of like, shut up, So be very careful of that prospect, of using the prospect's name, of hey, Kim, what do you think about, blah, 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 blah. And if you're constantly saying, hey, Kim, what do you think about, or don't you agree, Kim, Kim, don't do that. There's a technique of how you can have people engaged in it and which ones you want to call on, because there could be a time in the presentation to where there's a high D and a high C. Let's say the wife's a high C, husband's high D, and there's going to be times where you need to slow it down for the high C, but you got to stay at a fast pace for the D. And before you move on, you're going to have to ask the question, hey, Kim, you okay with everything I just talked about? You have any questions here? Or whoever the high C is. Okay. Buyers in waiting program. Most sellers would prefer to sell their home rather than list it. Of course, that's what they want. They want their house sold. Instead of referring to any agreement as a listing, refer it to as an authorization to sell. Do we have that on our own listing agreement, our own in-house agreement? Does it say authorization to sell?
It's just an office exclusive.
Office exclusive? I like that. Authorization to sell. I mean, we can call it office exclusive authorization to sell.
Okay.
I like that. We have buyers now. Buyers call us daily on our unique consumer programs, reports, and other properties we are offering up for sale. We get a lot of buyers. Matter of fact, not the last time I went in, but when I went in the first time, they already had 8 appointments set for the day. They're cranking it. Demonstration to the seller. We are the conduit to the best buyers willing to pay top dollar. We show this by stats and facts. In our presentation, it shows you how much more we get percentage-wise of asking price than the other agents. We show how fast we sell it versus all the other agents. We show how much more we get for it versus all the other agents. So, facts and stats. Get your prospects to say key words for you. So you have a lot to tell your prospects. Getting them involved in delivery of key points is a highly effective way to get them and keep them on board with the presentation you are giving. Here's some examples to help the customers understand and say the phrases that you want. So Jennifer. Who's Jennifer? Okay. Jennifer. Human nature tells us that most people prefer to get information on a non-threatening way. Now, most of us will avoid asking questions if we think we're going to get cornered into a long sales pitch by someone. Personally, I'm thinking about buying a car, so, for example. So I'll usually go to the car dealership on a Sunday so I can browse around without being harassed by a salesperson. Do you ever feel the same way? Jennifer says yes. So what do you think would happen, Jennifer, if buyers had the ability to call in our office 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to access detailed, informative, pre-recorded information about a property they are interested in without ever having to talk to or be harassed by an agent? Would you be more or less inclined to call for this information? Jennifer answers that she would be more inclined to call in for this information. Well, that's exactly what we found. In fact, our ad calls more than tripled since we instituted our 24-hour talking ads. So can you see how that would benefit you as a seller? Jennifer says yes. So this is another way of showing too that how to get them involved and say their name. You just included her in it, so you not overly, but you've helped get her involved in it. So what do you think most real estate agents operate? Let them respond. How do you think most real estate agents operate? Well, a very common problem for home sellers is trying to juggle the sale of their old home, the purchase of a new one. Timing can work to your disadvantage. You could be put into a situation of owning 2 or none at all. How would you feel if I told you that we will eliminate this problem for you by guaranteeing the sale of your present home before you purchase your new one? Let them respond. As always, you use your judgment to know how often to use this technique. You don't want to harass your prospect into doing all the work, but effectively use the tool can get it. So you're just getting them to, you're asking questions for them to respond of how this would work, what their response would be. All right, ask them questions they cannot brush off. So remember that your goal is to get your prospect nodding their head in your favor, and you want them to say yes. Instead of saying, would you like to make an appointment to meet so we can discuss the listing of your home? Say, I'd like to show you what we can do to sell your home. Would Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday evening be better for you next week? So you're given an option. The option is Tuesday or Wednesday. The option doesn't say anything about not meeting with them, right? So that's not a brush off answer. All right, Michael Gerber's. Anybody know who Michael Gerber is? He wrote a book. He's the author of, I forgot. And I can't remember. But anyway, find out what he's the author of. Big book, sold a bunch back in the 90s. So anyway, here's something he wrote on the retail shopping industry on this subject. It says, instead of asking when they walk into the store, hi, may I help you? Try, have you been here before? And the customers will respond either yes or no, right? In either case, you can feel free then to pursue the conversation. So they walk in, you say, have you been here before? Yes or no? So the answer is yes. You can say, great. We've created a special new program for people who have shopped here before. Let me just take a minute to tell you about it. If they say no, you can say, great, we've created a special new program for people who haven't shopped here before. Let me just take a minute to tell you about it. Either way, they opened up for you to step in and do your presentation, sell. Of course, you have to create a special new program to talk about in the first place, but that's the easy part, right? So for us, that's how we market. We create a situation where they want to call us. The reverse prospecting gets them to contact us in some form by email or call or text or something, where they inquire about a property or whatever it is we're marketing. And that opens the door to have that conversation about whatever question they have. Okay. All right, Holly, you're on for Dress for Success.
Oh, can I go now?
You can go now.
Okay.
It's go time.
Oh, geez. It's not that long of a story. So I had hit, it was probably my first year here, hit a sales slump. And so I was talking to Tim about it, and he's like, well, can I like give you some honest feedback? And I'm like, I guess, sure, why not? So he said, you really don't look good when you're going. I mean, you aren't dressing appropriately for when you're going. And because you've got to know, especially like in Knoxville and the agents that we're going against here in Knoxville, it's not like you have to like wear stilettos or whatever, but they do dress a lot. They do dress nicely. So I just basically went out and picked out what I call my listing jerseys, and I have like 2 outfits that I wear to every single one. And I did that, and it was crazy how much better, my sign rate was. So it actually does help.
Yes.
Because I was wearing jeans and light pants.
So, in our special reports, we tell home sellers that the way they present their home will determine how effective they will be at selling their home. Well, the same goes. Packaging is extremely important. It's no different for you and I trying to present ourselves. So, it tells the client, home sellers, or buyers, how I'm presented is how I'm going to perform. Consider Michael Gruber's word on the subject. This is great. So they did a 6-week test. For the first 3 weeks, they wear a brown suit to work, starch tan shirt, brown tie for men, well-polished brown shoes. Make certain that all the elements of your suit are clean and well-pressed. For the following 3 weeks, then wear a navy blue suit, a good starch, a white shirt, and a tie with red in it, or a pin or scarf for the women. Highly polished black shoes. The results will be dramatic. Sales will go up during the second 3-week period. Why? Because we have consistently discovered blue suits outsell brown suits. Doesn't matter who's in them. That's cool. What you wear matters, I guess. So if there's any wonder about that McDonald's, Federal Express, Disney, Miss Fields Cookies, and many more extraordinary companies spend so much time and money on determining how they will look, it pays. Pays consistently over and over and over again. Look in the mirror, ask yourself what your prospect will see when you walk in the door. Do you look well polished and professional? Does your looks display confidence and a feeling that you are taking this meeting very seriously? And ask yourself this question: Would I list my house with you? You're looking in the mirror. Would I list my house with you? If you walked in my door, would I list my house? If I locked in my door, would I list my house with me? Okay. Anybody feels like they're pretty good with the dress thing? All right, never call down your competition by name. Clearly, the purpose of your listing presentation is to show how and why your prospect should list with you versus any other agent. You want them to walk away with a conviction that you are the best person for the job. Which strategy do you think would most effectively win your prospects by your way to the way of your thinking? A, tell them that you are the greatest and that you or your team sell more houses than any other agent. B, tell them what a poor job other specific agents are doing and make the point that you will do a much better job than these other agents. C, show them how you have built a system designed around their needs, which is something no other agent has done. Explain to them how each of these programs will uniquely benefit them. Which one, A, B, or C? See? That's correct. Okay, always focus on your prospect's needs as the basis for all discussion. This is, I think, a very good point. Number 9. Remember why you're making your presentation in the first place. It's because they have a need and you have a solution. Okay? You are there to demonstrate to your prospect that you can help them better than anyone else. You are the one. You can help them better than anyone. You have to believe this, and I believe it. There's no other real estate company out there that can help a prospect better than we can. We've proven it. We've proven it to where, I mean, look at all the houses that's in MLS. Why aren't they sold? I ask that question to agents all the time. Outside of the agency, they'll say stuff. And I'll just say, well, this is early on when they were complaining about our coming soons. I'm like, well, you know, coming soons, tell me, so you think putting in the MLS will help sell it? Yeah. Get all the agents involved. You got more buyers going. Okay, how about the 5,700 other houses that's on the MLS and you haven't sold any of them? Go tell me why is it not working? If it works, if it's going to sell, if this me putting a house in the MLS is going to sell the house, then tell me why all the other 5,700 don't have a contract on them. That's not marketing. That's advocating marketing. That's just passing the buck to, I'm going to put the house in the MLS, put a sign in the yard. That's not marketing. But tell me why. Can you guys tell me why? The last time I looked in the MLS, there was over 5,000 houses in the MLS that were active, not pending. How come those aren't sold? If the MLS sells houses, why are they over 5,000 houses in MLS not sold? Could be the price. How many times have we taken listings and for the same price, or even raised the price and sold the house? This is on the MLS before. When it expired, we got it same price or even higher, and we sold it. So it's not always price.
No.
We have the buyers.
There's more
We had the
supply,
buyers.
but we go get the buyers and create the demand, right?
There's more. No, there's not more supply than there is demand right now. There's more demand than we have supply. I think price has got something to do with it. I think presentation of the house in the MLS has a lot to do with it. The pictures, the remarks, actually having a marketing plan. But, you know, because we do have the buyers and we have a marketing plan. So there's a lot of things to it. But my whole point is this, is, you know, NAR just passed this whole thing about coming soons, and they're wanting to make, you know, MLS statement that you need the sellers need the MLS to sell their house. Totally not true. You don't. We've proven it. How many times have we sold a house without the MLS? A lot of times. Okay. Before you can effectively make a link between their needs and your service, you must show them that you truly identify with and understand what their needs really are. All right, so first of all, we have to ask questions to make sure we understand their needs. Get them to talk to us about their needs, of why they're selling, what their end result they need to happen. You know, then you can put that. So let's say, for instance, they want to sell their house fast. So it's not about top dollar for them. It's about the need of getting my house sold quickly. So you're going to do a presentation. You're not going to focus on top dollar. You're going to focus on quick, fast. We sell houses fast. You know, we sell houses fast. We have a lot of examples of how fast we've sold houses. Let's say it's about, what else could it be? I don't know. What else could there be? Another example of?
Sell it to the right family.
Yeah, they could do that. They also could be that can't think of anything else besides selling it fast and for top dollar, because that's all we talk about. Well, you know what? They need to make sure that they don't want it to be a hassle. You know, I just don't want the hassle. I don't want it to be a hassle. I don't want to be, you know, this thing to be, you know, a burden. I don't, you know, whatever it is. I want it to be easy. So you focus on that, how easy the transactions can be and how hassle-free it can be, the team concept, those kind of things. Okay? So you have to present to your prospect based upon their needs. And you have to identify the needs. It's either they want top dollar, or they want to sell it fast, or they don't want any hassle. Or it could be they want all three. That's fine. This must always be starting point. State what you know their problem is, and then show them specifically how you're going to solve the problem. It could be that, you know, I want to sell my house, but I got to find the other house. I got to find my new home. I'm afraid that my house is going to sell quick. I know it, and I just don't want to be out of the house. So that's going to be the focus on it, that they're not going to be homeless. We're going to talk about the guaranteed sale program, the catch-22. We're going to talk about that's 80% of the people out there that have to sell a house before they can buy it. How do you think all these people move into another house? You know, we're going to talk about how we can help them as far as soon as we agree to sell our house, we're going to turn around and start looking for a house. Along with, we can negotiate, which is all the things we talked about. So you're going to read Zero Resistance Selling by Dan Kennedy. And then we have the Understanding How Personalities Interact. We've talked about that a lot. Let's see if there's anything here we want to look at here. All right, so most of you scored probably whether high D or high I, but how can you best present to someone outside your personality grouping? You don't have a lot of time to make an assessment, but it's very important that you do. Whether you get the listing or not may depend on it. So the questions you are trying to answer before you get into the meat of the situations are, how friendly and outgoing should I be? Will I be met with welcome or skepticism? How much time should I spend on details? All the points must be covered, but can be touched on with more or less details. How fast or slow should I approach the presentation? The summary? Reading the person incorrectly will have a major impact on the outcome of your interaction, but there is room for refinement inside the meeting. Always be watching your prospects for signs of what's working and what's not. Speed up or slow down. Zero in or pull back. You can't just be just deadlocked on this thing and not looking at them. So that's why you have to internalize this listing. You cannot just read it and not pay attention to your prospects. You've got to be able to let them be watching it, and you're doing what your thing. And you don't have to read it word by word. You can change as long as you're hitting the key points, key words, those kind of things. Above all, don't talk at them, talk with them. So you want them engaged in it. Make sure the conversation feels right to the prospect. You'll get that by their body language. All of a sudden, they're like this. That's not good. Or maybe they're like this. They're thinking about something. Or they're stuck on something you said a few minutes ago and they're not hearing what you're saying now. I know that because I do a lot of this. And I'm usually stuck on something else that you said. And I'm thinking, I'm chewing on that a minute. And I'm like, I'm not hearing what you're saying now. So you got to watch for all that. Or maybe, that phone out. You've lost them. All right.